Nationally, Joe Biden is the head of the Democratic Party. Okay, Jamie Harrison is the chair, but the reality is Biden and his team are actually calling the shots. What happened in Louisiana is an utter disgrace. I mean, I don't know. There's no other way to call it. How do you have a sitting governor who's Democrat, and the person who is running is Jeff Landry, who is a hardcore Trump MAGA candidate who has an absolutely horrible record, especially when it comes to African Americans, and Democrats literally put up no fight against him.
The Democrats are in trouble. So you have the black elite, in this case, Roland Martin. He can't understand why black people in Louisiana voted for Jeff Landry. Jeff Landry won the gubernatorial race down in Louisiana. He was a candidate, a MAGA candidate, backed by Donald Trump. And when the pollsters started looking into the numbers, they noticed that he received more of the black vote than what had been garnered before by Republicans. And Roland Martin just can't understand why.
Nationally, Joe Biden is the head of the Democratic Party. Okay, Jamie Harrison is the chair, but the reality is Biden and his team are actually calling the shots. What happened in Louisiana is an utter disgrace. I mean, I don't know. There's no other way to call it. How do you have a sitting governor who's Democrat, and the person who is running is Jeff Landry, who is a hardcore Trump MAGA candidate who has an absolutely horrible record, especially when it comes to African Americans, and Democrats literally put up no fight against him.
Well, there are a couple of additional pieces to the puzzle that need to be discussed here, because those are some very interesting points. We've already discussed the lower black turnout that I saw, not just in early voting, but especially with election day voting. But one thing I saw, not only with my polling, but on election night results, is this. Jeff Landry consistently polled at 8% amongst black voters, which for Republicans is pretty impressive. Along comes election day, and when I looked at the precinct data where 70% or more of the registered voters are black, I saw that John Bel Edwards got 91% of that vote in the 2019 primary. In the 2023 primary, which has just concluded, not only did Sean Wilson get about 70% of that vote, but Jeff got 12%. And if you were to restrict your analysis to the 60 less urban parishes, in other words, everything but East Baton Rouge, everything but Caddo, everything but Jefferson, everything but Orleans, Jeff's vote share went up to 16%. In other words, we're talking about more of the rural black constituencies. So I think that those additional data points that I just brought up are things that need to be discussed within the Democratic Party hierarchy.
You hear what he just said? Jeff Landry, a MAGA Republican backed by Trump, got 16% of the black vote in this past election. And the guy that was running against him got less. The Democrat got less. The things I've been saying on this channel, the things that people have been saying on social media, people wanted to dismiss that. Said, oh man, black folks not going to come out and vote for the Republican Party. And I'm shocked, honestly, that this guy got this many votes. But what this portends for potentially other elections in Mississippi and other places, and especially next year, is that black people are waking up to the lies of the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party hierarchy knows it. They're afraid of it. They're trying to do everything they can to deflect from it, to say that this is just a one-off deal, but this is not a one-off deal. So they send out their henchmen like Roland Martin to try to embarrass black people into staying with the Democratic Party, but it will not work.
Democratic Party hierarchy.
Robert, explain that to me. How does a white Democrat get 91% of the black vote, but a black gubernatorial candidate gets 70?
I'll explain it to you, Roland. Black people are done listening to the lies of the Democratic Party.
Well, Jeff Landry had a very well-funded campaign, and in the last few weeks of the campaign, he put out he did some ad buys, and he put out some very strict, I mean, some very slick ads where he had black voters, including one black police officer whose son had been killed his son had been murdered, talk about crime and crime in the black community, and how Jeff Landry doesn't care if you're black or white. He's gonna fight crime. And so in fact, I take that back. He actually had two parents whose children had been murdered, black parents that appeared in several ads for him. So he had well funded. He did get the endorsement of at least one black Democrat in New Orleans, a gentleman named Austin Badon, who is a former three-term state legislator, state representative. I think we can expect Austin to show up in a Jeff Landry administration in some appointed role. So basically, he did spend money. His ad people were very good and were very professional, and they did spend money putting black faces on television, saying, we endorse Jeff Landry. We think he's a good man. We think, again, specifically focusing on the crime issue, which is obviously a hot point in urban areas, and those ads worked. I mean, those ads were designed specifically to peel off segments of the black vote, and they worked. I think you would have to say they were effective. He got his money's worth out of those ads.
But isn't this the same Jeff Landry who wanted to make public the juvenile records of kids 13 and older in only 3 parishes in the state, and those were the black parishes?
Here come Roland Martin. He's trying to embarrass black people, to say black folks are so dumb. Don't you see this man's racist? Don't you see that this man hates you, that his policy is going to be anti-black? Just listen to this argument.
It is, but honestly, Roland, I don't think that issue resonated to the extent that that it should have, or that you would have thought that it would have. So, I'm
still trying to understand. Again, look, if I'm on the outside looking at who a person is and their record, and he now gets elected, he now has a super majority in the Louisiana legislature. They can do whatever they want, like in Florida and Texas, in Georgia and other places. Now all of a sudden, and it can't be stopped. So folk actually voted for that?
Well, folks voted for it because they didn't think that their vote was going to make any difference. So, I mean, again, there are some black voters that thought that he was the law and order candidate, and they're scared of crime. And even though I would point out that in Louisiana, the governor has very little to do with fighting crime. Crime is fought at the local level by police chiefs and elected sheriffs and mayors and elected district attorneys. It's just the way our Constitution and our statutes work.
But I'm glad you brought that up, John. 63 sheriffs were on the ballot across Louisiana. All 63 are men. 57 out of the 63 are white men. There was one sheriff who runs a horrible jail. It is in a blue county, and the Democrats didn't even have somebody running against him. How can you stand? First of all, how can you have a shot at winning if you don't run?
Well, there's also another piece of the puzzle that needs to be discussed here, is that same group of sheriffs who endorsed Jeff Landry had endorsed Governor John Bel Edwards before, whose brother, by the way, is the sheriff of Tangipahoa Parish. So in other words, I think you have to look at this more holistically than just the example you have provided.
He shut Roland down. You see how Roland Martin trying to play this, right? He trying to paint the picture that Jeff Landry is a racist, and how can these black people vote against their interest? People like Roland Martin are the ones that want to keep black people on the plantation. to keep black people in bondage, to keep black people as perpetual victims, to continue to foster the grievance class. Well, Roland Martin, your days are coming to an end. Like I've said before, black people are starting to wise up to the tricks, to the wiles, to the ploy, to the way that the Democratic Party has played them for generations. And you're starting to see it in Louisiana, and you'll see it in Mississippi, and you'll see it in other places, and you'll especially see it next year. So, Democrats, get ready. The exodus has started.